New Zealand is an island country in the southwestern Pacific Ocean. It is a part of Zealandia, a microcontinent nearly half the size of Australia that gradually submerged after breaking away from the Gondwana supercontinent. Zealandia extends a significant distance east into the Pacific Ocean and south towards Antarctica. It also extends towards Australia in the northwest. This submerged continent is dotted with topographic highs that sometimes form islands. New Zealand's landscapes ranged from the fjords of the southwest to the sandy beaches of the subtropical far north. It consists of two main landmasses, the North Island and the South Island, and over 700 smaller islands, which are eco-sanctuaries with carefully controlled access. The New Zealand landmass has been uplifted due to transpressional tectonics between the Indo-Australian plate and the Pacific plates. These two plates are grinding together, with one riding up and over the other. This is the cause of New Zealand's numerous earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. The South Island is dominated by the Southern Alps, while a volcanic plateau covers much of the central North Island. Temperatures commonly fall below 0 degrees Celsius and rise above 30 degrees Celsius. Then conditions vary from wet and cold on the South Island's west coast to dry across the mountains and subtropical in Northland. Its temperature climate, regular rainfall over much of the country caused a very rich hydrography. There are 3,820 lakes in New Zealand and are varying types and origins. Many of the lakes in the central North Island area are volcanic crater lakes, while the majority of the lakes near the Southern Alps were carved by glaciers. There are also 180,000 kilometers of rivers that have been mapped in New Zealand, the longest being the Waikato River with a length of 425 kilometers, and the largest river by volume is the Clutha River. About 2/3 of the land is economically useful, with the remainder being mountainous. There are 8,316 named mountains in New Zealand, the highest and most prominent being Mount Cook at 3,724 meters. The North Island is the most populous island with 4 million residents, and Auckland being by far the largest metropolitan area in the country by population and urban area. The South Island is the second most populated island, with over 1.18 million people, but is geographically larger than the North. The physical geography, rich with mountains, hydrography, caves, waterfalls, parks, forests, makes New Zealand one of the most beautiful places to visit. New Zealand's capital city is Wellington, and its most populous city is Auckland. Let's go back to the history. New Zealand is a relatively young country, and many different groups have immigrated and brought their own culture and traditions with them. With time, these different influences mix to create the fascinating and diverse culture that Kiwis embrace today. The first group to arrive and settle in New Zealand were the Maori, with their many legends and deep care for the environment and each other. Afterward, waves of migrant groups found their way to New Zealand, each bringing their own culture and traditions. While conflict was strife, especially during the Maori and European settlers, New Zealand has found its way into a peaceful, easygoing, and all-inclusive culture. The Maori people are the indigenous people of New Zealand and first arrived over 1,000 years ago. A deeply spiritual culture, many of their beliefs and traditions still hold firm throughout New Zealand today. While the European settlers arrived, it was expected and sometimes forced that the Maori assimilate into the European lifestyle. With the use of the Maori language fading and its customs and traditions becoming less known and celebrated, many aspects of the Maori way of life were disappearing. Luckily, since the 1950s, there has been a cultural renaissance with the teaching of the te reo, the Maori language, the celebration of the Maori holidays, and incorporating many aspects of Maori culture into everyday life. Maori culture is filled with legends, each explaining how landscapes came to be and why the world is the way it is. Today, New Zealand's population is 5.25 million of the European descent. The indigenous Maori are the largest minority, followed by Asians and Pacific Islanders. Knowing that New Zealand was a colony of Britain, its culture is mainly derived from Maori and early British settlers, with recent broadening of culture arising from increased immigration. The official languages are English, Maori, and New Zealand Sign Language, with the local dialect of English being dominant.